All right, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start working on the next chapter, which is on chemical bonding. And before we do that, we're going to do a little exercise today on Lewis structures, because Lewis structures is something that we'll be using in this unit on bonding. And what Lewis structures are is Lewis structures are just a simplified way to represent an atom and its outer electrons. Okay, and we're going to learn how to do those. You should have a a page of notes that are kind of folded into kind of like a booklet. So if you look on the front of that, I'm going to kind of take you through these notes, and you can fill in the blanks as we go along. So let's do that. Let's start off by the getting started section. So the first thing that we do when we start writing Lewis structures is we find our element on the periodic table. Okay, that's first thing, and we've looked at the periodic table and talked about them. We even did groups. You in your groups studied some of these groups, and we're going to be looking at these groups. The 1A, and this is 2A, 3A, 4A. It's getting kind of tight here. 5A, 6A, and this one is 7A, and finally 8A. Okay, and we've looked at some of those, and we've named them too: alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, and so on and so forth throughout there. So the second, number two, getting started, we're going to determine the number of valence electrons. And remember, valence electrons are those electrons in the outermost shell. Okay? Number three, this is how many electrons you will draw. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, we're going to find out which group our element is. And again, this will tell you the number of valence electrons your element has. Remember, the number of the group, 1A, all of these elements in the red have one valence electron. They have one electron in their outermost shell. Group 2 have two valence electrons, two electrons in their outermost shell. 3, 3 electrons. Group 4, 4 electrons. Group 5, 5 electrons. Group 6, 6 valence electrons, and so on and so forth. So that it works out really nice that way. And you can't see my 1 in the red box. There it is right there. So these groups, the group number tells us how many valence electrons we have in our element. Okay, and those are the only elements we're concerned with when we're drawing Lewis structures. Okay, so going on to the next part on your notes, the review section. Each of these columns is called a group. Okay, each column is called a group. And we also called them families. Families. The carbon family, right? Or the nitrogen family, all these things, okay? Each element in a group has the same number of electrons in their outer orbital, and we also call this outer orbital the shell. Okay, the outer shell. And finally, these electrons in the outer shell are called the valence electrons. So hopefully that's a bit of a reminder, but hopefully you have this down, the definition of a valence electron by now. Okay? So let's go ahead and draw a Lewis structure. So we're going to use carbon as an example. Okay? 1. Our first step in writing the Lewis structure, we're going to write the element symbol. We're going to write the symbol for the element. Okay, and in this case, carbon. This is carbon. Carbon, the symbol is C, which makes sense. Okay, step 2. We need to find out how many valence electrons does carbon have. And carbon, actually, if we go back to this slide really quick, carbon is right there. This is carbon. Let me draw that in black. this is carbon right there where I put the 4. And so that makes it easy. It's in group 4. It has 4 valence electrons. So it has 4 valence electrons. I'll just put, we're going to symbolize electrons as dots. Okay, so there's my 4 valence electrons. Valence electrons. And that E minus means electrons. Okay, we're going to start as we continue to draw. Normally you wouldn't have to draw these dots. I just did that so that we could see carbon has 4 valence electrons. Okay, and then we're going to start at the right-hand side of the symbol right here. And we're going to start putting our electrons around. Now here's the thing. We start here. We start on the right-hand side of the element symbol. And we put 1. And we put 1 on each side as we go around counterclockwise. 1 on each side. Just kind of like we did with the Bohr models. Remember, 1 on each side. And those are kind of our 4 positions. And we need to make sure that we go around putting 1 in each side. And there we have it. There's carbon with its 4 valence electrons. And that kind of shows us, hey, carbon has 4 valence electrons. And this is going to be useful drawing Lewis structures when we start putting elements together and making bonds. Okay, the last thing, we check our work. Did we draw the correct number of electrons? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Is carbon in the 4th group? Yeah, it's right there, and you can look on your periodic table in your book or at your desk to confirm that. So there we go. That's carbon. That's the Lewis structure of carbon. Let's do another one quick before you start working on an exercise. Okay, phosphorus. Now phosphorus is right. It's in group 5, and it's right here. This is phosphorus right here. Group 5. So how many valence electrons does it have? It has 5. Okay, so I'm just going to put those down here. Okay, there's its 5 valence electrons. And then I am going to start drawing the valence electrons around the symbol starting at the right-hand side. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4, and I still have 1 more. Right? Because if I cross these out, I've used 1, 2, 3, 4. I still have 1 more. And so then I start back at the beginning and start pairing them up. And if I had more, I'd start going to the different positions and pairing them up until I have 8. And 8 is the most that a shell can hold, the outer shell can hold. 8 is the happy number where our element is happy because it has a full outer shell. Okay, so that is how you draw a Lewis structure. Okay, so let's recap really quick. Write the element symbol. Okay, count the number of valence electrons. The valence electrons. Starting at the right-hand side, draw the electrons as dots, counterclockwise, 1 in each position. If you have more electrons, you can start pairing them up as you continue to go around counterclockwise, like we did in phosphorus. Okay, so there you go. That is a Lewis structure. It's a simplified way to represent an atom and its outer electrons. Okay, using the symbol and dots to represent those electrons. That's it. What I'm going to have you do then today is you have a booklet, and if you open up that booklet, if you open it up, you'll see something that looks like this. Okay, and this actually gives you the format here, and these numbers represent where you should place the electrons in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is xenon, so it has all the 8s filling it. It actually gives you some examples right here. Okay, so I would like you to do Lewis structures for these elements, Okay, you can just draw the dots right there in the box. And then you actually have, if you turn your notes over, you have a Lewis structure review, okay, that asks you to write the element, the symbol, the group number, the number of valence electrons, and then draw the Lewis structure. So that's what you're going to work on today for the rest of class. If you don't finish it, please take this home and finish it as homework. All right, thank you, and have a great day.